Hi, everybody, and welcome to Sell, Scale, and Thrive, the B2B SaaS podcast for founders. This is all about sales, about building your sales capabilities in your organization. Because a startup that sells is a startup that scales. Want to create positive impact by getting your SaaS product out to more customers? Then start here.
Hello, hi everyone, and welcome to this LinkedIn Live with SalesPlaybook. I am Sol, and this is Manuel Hartmann. So welcome everyone, and thank you for joining. The topic today is hacking sales cycles and how to avoid and even not do proof of concepts. So we've got quite a controversial show because I'm sure that most founders here are probably saying, what? Not do proof of concept. So what is this all about? So Manuel, why don't you introduce yourself, because everyone's here to see you, not me. So
yeah, happy to do so. And I think that the key thing is like, why do I hate proof of concepts to a certain degree? I did too many of them that did not convert, that didn't have clear validation criteria, that did not have a clear commitment. There was no mutual action plan for full rollout. And I lacked a clear path to revenue, right? So, I mean, POCs, proof of concepts, should convert at like a rate of like 70 to 90%. Like 3 out of 4 is good, like 4 out of 5 is good. In startups, we see them converting often like 20 to 40%, like 1 out of 5, 2 out of 5. And then so I'm like, oh, thanks for the results. Like, we'll get back to you and we'll evaluate it internally. Just because the conversation goes like this: startup goes to corporate says like, oh yeah, great, like show me what you got. Like, after the demos, can you send me an offer, can you send me a presentation, do a free POC, a proof of concept, which I think is anyways the wrong wording, because it's not about proving concepts, it's about solving problems. But we'll get to this. And then the startup founder or like sales lead doesn't see another way than to do a POC, because they don't see how they can otherwise solve it, how they can create trust. And then they run it. They take resources from their product, their engineering, their analytics, their business development team, and they also take time from the customer side, which then actually like is the fastest way to actually like lengthen your sales cycle. I mean, if your sales cycle would be 3 months and you're going to be asked to do like a 1-month POC and you're going to discuss for 1 month and then you need to analyze again, that's just double your sales cycle. So that's just as a few introductory points.
okay, thanks. Let's just go one step further. So what actually is a proof of concept, and when is it that startups are supposed to do this?
I think a proof of concept is something you get asked for that you want to do in at times where it's not 100% clear if that actually works, right? So you're an artificial intelligence startup in the analytics space, and like you want to sell to a large bank, and the bank is not sure will what you claim to do actually work in reality, because I've never seen it, I haven't seen a case study, I haven't talked to anybody, and will it work in our setup, which is different than your other setups, like at an insurance or at another bank. So then you get asked to do this because nobody really wants to take the risk, right? And I think the worst thing that happens is if basically the potential customer asks like, hey, do you give us 100% money back guarantee? Do you do the rollout? Or like, are you 100% sure this works? And then the founder needs to go there and it's like, oh, I'm actually not sure if this works. It's like, great. So it's like you go on a bridge and somebody asks like, hey, bungee jumping. It's like, hey, like, you sure this works? Like, no, but I mean, you jump, right? Like, because I'm scared. I was like, this is not a good feeling. Because one of the main points in sales is to create trust, and as much of it as possible, because there's even a book called Speed of Trust, that once trust is there, like everything goes amazingly well and quick. And if trust is not there, you have different mechanisms to do this. One of them is a POC, other ones are a reference call to like a successful customer, is a case study of like how you do things. It's basically just understanding the problem better and showing expertise on how you solve this problem functionally. And a POC is just, I think, often like the worst possible path, because it takes a long time, it's resource intensive, and you might not even test the right thing with the right people.
So tell me a bit more about that. You might not be testing the right thing with the right people. So what's the issue there? Is it like, how are people going about POCs in a wrong way?
Right. Maybe I just tell you two negative cases, or actually three, because people learn from real life cases, right? Like one was, I was selling to commerce, and there was like at a conference the CEO of like one of my top 20 target customers. So I knew the account, I wanted to get in there, and I just met him over a beer basically, and he came to me like, "What are you doing?" And we help retailers sell more products online faster by not like automating the process how you get files from supplier, like it was a sports goods company. And I was like, "Oh, that's really good. We need that. That's our business, right?" I'm CEO of like the e-commerce part. I was like, "Good. So like, might I ask you a few questions? Like, how many suppliers do you have?" Like 600, like, which was like really the upper end, like dream ideal customer profile. It's like, "How do you do this?" Like, "It's all manual. Like, you talk to my friend here, and she's not a friend of that process. So it sucks, like, because it's 500,000 to 1 million products," which was really would have been like the largest customer, but it was really a good case. And I was like, "Okay, you figure out, like, you run a POC, and then if it works." And the person's like, "How can we test this quickly? Like, let's normalize like sizes of shoes across like US, EU, whatever, because we can test it and you can be successful with that." And we did, and we got paid, and we presented this. And then the CEO came in again and was like, "Yeah, but we're talking about onboarding new suppliers, and you tested no shoe size normalization. So that's not at all. We need to run a second POC, and I pay again. It's fine." So we did it a second time. And by the time we finished, which was about like 4 or 5 months later with the second POC, so like by now, I really got 3 different business priorities for me. Like, one is integrating 5 new countries into our geographic unit. 2, we need to like fix SAP. And 3, we need to roll out a new website. So I appreciate your work, but by now, 4 or 5 months later, this is not one of my top 3 business priorities. So nothing wrong. Like, it was not even a free POC, but it was just not relevant anymore. Example number 2, we did this and we got 6-7 stakeholders on board. And like, I mean, you basically like remarked me that I shouldn't send out a newsletter to 1,500 people with a subject line called "Who the F is Sven," right? Which was the 7 stakeholders after we conducted a pilot with 6 stakeholders, but we did not have like the person taking the decision if to move forward there in there. And we could have found out that much earlier. Like, if we would just not have run the POC, just like invest the probably 2 to 5 person days into like 10% of that to understand who Sven was, we could have had a conversation with Sven and find out if he's really willing to change processes in his company or not. And the proof of concept was never the point. It was just like, did that person want to take action? Did he have a compelling reason to act, which he did not? And then we could have saved us the POC. So these are 2 negative cases. And then there's a lot of positive cases where you can have a proof of value or an initial collaboration where somebody really says, this is the most urgent thing which we want to fix. So for example, one customer is like, do your annual agreement if you need for your seed investor, if you need like an ARR contract subscription, whatever you call that, do it, charge me 60K for it. Out of these 4 batches of work, like I need the first one to work. That's not a proof of concept. This, you need to bulletproof assure me this works, right? This is the most urgent problem. Afterwards, like, I'm reasonably relaxed. But this was not a proof of concept. It was really like, can you solve this problem within the next 3 months, reliably, predictably, at 0 risk for me? And this is what people want.
Okay, so if you're not recommending to do proof of concept, what do you recommend instead, like with concrete steps?
I recommend going much deeper into discovery and qualification and understand what is it really that somebody wants to solve. Like, why now, why me, or why us, and like why this mechanism, right? I mean, if you want to get fit, for example, and I'm run a CrossFit box, like, why CrossFit? Why not jogging? Why not powerlifting? Why not Thai boxing? Why not something else? Am I in the right game? Like, why does somebody want to do CrossFit? Why does somebody want to even get fit? What happens if they don't get fit? What happens if they go running and not CrossFitting? Like, why are we even here? And if people then really urgently, like top 3 priority, want to do this, then ask them very candidly, it's like, hey, look, but it seems that you want to fix this like ideally in a minute, not like in a year. Why don't we just start fixing the real problem? And I give you 100% action-based money back guarantee within the first 30, 60, 90 days. I give you a reference call with like a customer who had the same challenges, same transformation, same concerns. I send you 2 case studies of like what exactly happened. I send you an ebook of the exact process which we're going to implement in your company. So the ebook describes in great detail like what we will do, like the why we established now, and then our solution is just like how this will work. And if you have any question at one point, here's my personal mobile phone number, and you call me anytime, and we'll make sure this works. And then you find out if somebody thinks like, well, then if there's zero financial, reputational, or procedural risk for me, and I want to solve this problem right now, let's go. Send me the DocuSign with all these risk reversals for me. But often you will encounter the opposite, that someone's like, yeah, it's actually not that important. I just thought you can do free market research for me and just show me what you got. And like, I'm actually not authorized to sign anything. And then you notice all the orange flags, which you should have long time ago. And I was like, well, if you're not authorized to decide anything, if you don't know the real business problem, and if you're not committed to solve the problem, then the proof of concept is not going to solve anything. Because then it's just free market research.
Okay, so what does all this have to do with hacking sales cycles?
Yeah, as I mentioned a bit earlier, like I think POCs take time, right? I mean, even if you run your proof of concept on an afternoon and you ship the results to someone, it's like, here are the results, then somebody needs to look at them. And this takes up internal resources. And this is especially like in software as a service, this is the most common issue, I think, like is after the sales is adoption. So today morning with Tim from our team, I was on a call with like a SaaS solution in sales enablement space, and the solution was really beautiful. It made a lot of sense, and like it was even like got the offer like to use it for free for a while. And Tim and they're like, hey, this is really cool solution. I was like, yes, but if I throw this at my team, just rolling out EchoBot, and they haven't even started using cold email and then cold LinkedIn, and then at the same time unique for call analysis, and then something else. And now I come with solution number 5. I'm just really scared this doesn't get adopted and it takes away capacity from at least updating the 5 HubSpot fields. We need to like understand what's happening for our customers. So I ran this like in the last company where I was like the first sales hire basically. And we did this POC and we got paid handsomely, like low 5 figures for it. And we just asked, and like we asked, can we discuss the results? And they're like, not now, like in 2 months, we're busy. And 2 months later, they have not even looked at the results. And in the moment you do a POC or you do like even like a project of sorts, you force the other person to not buy in a continuous setup from you until they validated the results. Mm-hmm. Like in the moment you so tell me like, hey, I will send you a work sample before you hire me. I'm not allowed like to say face to hire you without that work sample because I told you that work sample is important to me. And mm-hmm. if you send me a work sample, it's going to take me like a day to review until I find that day, and I cannot hire you. Just reputation, it doesn't work. Because we both agreed this work sample and my proper analysis of you and the discussion we need to have about it is important.
Okay. So I'll open up now for Q&A for everyone. And here, can everybody see in the chat? Q&A. So just drop your questions here in the Q&A, and then we can have Manuel answer direct questions that anybody may have, real life examples. If there's anything that you and your company are struggling with right now. I'm actually not seeing questions in the Q&A. Can somebody write something, please, in the comments section and let me know if they're seeing it?
Not 100% sure if we enabled Q&A for this session, so if I go to the LinkedIn live page.
Yeah.
I'm happy to continue the conversation.
Yeah, I'm in the LinkedIn live page. And I don't know if there's for
So
comment.
where would I put questions? Okay, so it works, right? So Manfred Köhl asks, what is it, like technical versus functional POC? Excellent question, I think. So Manfred, like I think that there's really, sometimes there is a technical proof of concept and you need to do it. Like if you are SpaceX and you claim that you can send a rocket to the International Space Station, and someone's really like, and you claim that you can do it like 4 times faster, 4 times cheaper at like double the payload. And if I'm NASA and I've been doing that stuff for 30 years, it was like that is not by the first principles of physics possible. How are you solving these technical challenges? And I might have literally a list of 27 technical things, which I need to understand, like how on Earth or space is it possible to solve this? In B2B SaaS, this is very rare, like that you have these really deep technical challenges. Like in hardware, this is different, or like in pharma, that when you need an FDA trial, that really your biomarker, which nobody else with like trillions of spend could develop. So that's like where you write like a proper PhD postdoc research paper, which was peer reviewed and so on. In SaaS, they actually have much more often like a functional proof of concept, which is answering the question, does this work in my setup and achieve a certain business outcome? And you care less about precision and recall of your machine learning algorithm. You just care, is it classifying like this data in the correct way, like in 4 out of 5 cases, which is good enough for manual error control. Next one, and I hope that's okay. So if I just go one by one, probably.
Yep, go for it.
From Stefan Albert, we talked a lot about the wrong reasons to do a POC. What are the right reasons? I think the right reasons is if you can establish the buyer journey from zero, or from the current conversation to like a full rollout of like the target setup, which you want to do. And someone just says like, hey, can we together execute a POC or a proof of value or like an initial collaboration to just help me sell it internally? Like I want to roll this out across all divisions of ABB, but I need to prove in at least one division that it is successful. So right now we're in a conversation with a scale up with 8-figure ARR, and they say like, hey, we wanted to build out outbound lead sales in the past. Like the lead quality was subpar, like it was not as good as we would like it to be. Before I call my sales team, I was like, take all the outbound leads. We just need to showcase that at least like 1 out of 5 instead of like 1 out of 20 converts. So we need to get a minimum sample of this before we can scale it up. From Christian Haberfeld, thank you for covering the interesting topic. Will there be a recording available? Yes, there will be a recording available, and we'll ship this out soon. So this week, definitely. From Victor Charlie, what are other ways to build credibility and avoid POCs completely? Typically case studies, reference calls. If, for example, we have this often that like the startup ecosystem is relatively tightly networked, and some people come in and is like, I already spoke to my investor, 2 other scale-up founders via entrepreneurs organization, and this peer, which is like kind of a competitor, but not really. And they all said it's good. So like, I'm fine. I don't need your demo access. Like, I don't need the POC. Like I ask for people I trust, and they say like, it's good, and it's good. On the other way, like if that person would ask for people and 2 of them like, but so, I think it works for my case, it will not work for you, then there's no way a POC is going to solve that, because it's just a social proof and trust issue. So risk reversal, like money back guarantee, like full rollout, opt-out clause after X months is one thing. Social proof by reference call or by case study. A third one is just like domain expertise, that you can show like, hey, I'm literally the best person to solve XYZ.
Can I just jump in there? You talk about money back guarantee. Do you then refer to that if you're having to give out a lot of money back guarantees and it's not working?
Yeah, I mean, what we give, for example, as SalesPlaybook, we give every customer like an action-based money back guarantee. We don't advertise it, like it's not a B2C thing, and we don't want people to just like come and go. But if somebody's like, hey, I'm willing to put in the work, I'm committed to invest the hours and the budget, and like sales is really important to me, but what if my co-founder and I go to court and we go to war and we split up the company after 2 months? Do I still need to pay like for 12 months? What if we're validating B2B versus B2C right now. What if B2B just doesn't work? And we see after 4 weeks, like, can we just pay the month? And it was useful to validate, but there's not going to be any use for us talking mutual action plans and enterprise sales if like the way we go is X. They're like, sure, like I also don't want to work with you on a B2C thing for the rest of my life if it's providing zero value to you.
Okay. Thanks. We have a next question from Gregor.
Yeah, so Gregor, so I understand the approach of not spending time on POCs, but what if the customer demands it to go further? How should I behave? Again, ask for commitment. So let's like basically there's two options then, right? Like one, you're committed to do it, and like why charge a POC pretty expensively and offer to credit it 100% to like continuous collaboration. Like just charge the POC at like whatever is expensive in that specific segment, 10, 20, 50, 100K. And then if somebody budges on that, it's like, yeah, but what if it doesn't work out? Like, while you're telling me like 80% sure this converts to continuous collaboration, which is that means this POC is zero costs if that's our mutual goal, which we both agree this is what's going to happen. Like, yeah, but I'm not sure, like, and I don't have buy-in from the CEO, and I don't know if we need this and if this is a priority, and I don't have the money. It's like, well, but then you organize the money and the authority and like the timing and everything before we start the POC. Because otherwise we run the POC and the problems are still there from a business perspective. And then you either get buy-in and you get commitment and you resolve some concerns, or you disqualify. Because otherwise, especially if you're a tech startup, like there's hundreds of people who want to do POCs with you if they're free and if they're interesting, and like there's whole departments being paid for that. Also, no question from Carlo Badini from Pabio and Jeremias Meyer from Session VC Expexio. But thanks for saying hello back. From an anonymous LinkedIn user, what if you're in a phase where you still do not have the best reference customer case to use? So what's the approach you recommend for these customers? First 10 is always much harder than like 10 to 100, I think. What I'd recommend is like still publish like target pricing, what you want to do. Like if you're in a professional service business, or like, let's say you run a subscription and it would be worth 100K, still charge 100K, but then you can give a quid pro quo discount of like 20, 50, 80%, whatever needs to be there in exchange for product feedback, case study, joint webinar, introduction to the CEO, reference calls, whatever is useful to you in non-monetary value. And I think then what's really important, go above and beyond to make this first customer really successful. The smartest founders I know, in the beginning, they took like 1 to 3 customers and just like personally made them really, really successful I mean, it was not all SaaS, right? It was just sometimes a lot of professional services, network, but these 3 customers need to become super fans of you, that they go above and beyond, like you can have glowing testimonials from them, and then everything else from that becomes much easier. And then Manfred could also ask 2 questions. POC to and for whom, like business, IT, procurement, innovation team, it's really a huge difference, and addressing the right audience. And then should you do it paid or free? Clear, define, and agreed scope for POC is key, right? So the second one is much easier to answer. Like POC paid, yes, not free. Like if it's free, there's no value to it. There's no commitment. Even if you charge 5K, get that commitment, and really like have a very clear scope of like, what do we want to get out of this? I mean, ideally you have legal conversion criteria, which is hard typically, but if you just 100% agree, we're here to go from A to B by solving these problems which were not fixed before because of A, B, C. And if we solve this problem, then we roll this solution to what the end goal was anyways. With the business, IT, procurement, innovation, I think there's 2 fundamental pyramids. So one pyramid, Manfred, is really like this innovation, digital transformation, R&D, new business pyramid, which is like they pay to do POCs with you. They give like an accelerate the money to just run POCs because they're measured by the number of POCs with like innovative startups. We had this, for example, like, hey, you're an AI SaaS startup. Like my job is this quarter to run 5 POCs. I'm too short. Can we run a POC? I give you 10K. The problem with that approach is that you do the POC here in this pyramid, and suddenly you ask like at the top of the pyramid, you completed it, and you ask it to convert to a business like marketing, sales, finance, ops, legal, whatever your buyer persona is, and then you ask to jump from this pyramid over to this pyramid here, and you need to implement that with stakeholders who have never heard of you, who you don't have buy-in, you never spoken to, you don't have a proper discovery and qualification, you don't know who the economic buyer is, and you basically start from scratch. So then you enter like a POC conversion meeting with the intent to sell a 3-year contract, and the other persons are like, Manfred, who are you? I've never heard of you. So from Sven Koller, also in summary, make them paid and make them auto-renewing, recurring. I mean, you cannot make a POC auto-renewing or recurring. I think it's just customers don't think in auto-renewal and recurring. Customers don't think in ARR. They think in like, I have a problem, can you fix it? And whatever you do, like if you call that a subscription or if you call that a 1-year contract, or a 3-year contract, I don't care. So I think it's really important to think in the customer setup of like, what's the problem we can solve here? And like, how does that problem solving look at scale? And does the case make sense for the customer? And then can we deliver this value with a mechanism that's profitable, or that at least that's enable us to do high growth, to become profitable at one point if you're a VC-backed startup. Then I think with time, we're like 2 more questions, like one already put in from Simon Michel. What if I'm not 100% sure if the scaling really works? Could a staggered rollout make sense? Yes, excellent point. Typically, you do not want to commit to the full scope early on with like an SMI or a DOCS company if you're like early stage startup, anything before $1 million in ARR. Like if UBS would ask you to do a global rollout within 3 months, it would be pretty suicidal to do that. And just like, yeah, sure. Like we probably press a button and then they come like, here's this HIPAA, SOC, ISO compliance with like 27 different single sign-on systems, 4 instances of SAP in 10 languages with 24/7 service level agreement to answer questions within 5 minutes and guarantee a 99.99% uptime. They're like, no way. What you can do then is you can start with 1 business unit, solve a real world problem. So it's not a proof of concept. It's just solving the problem of this person. It's just solving the problem of UBS Switzerland wealth management for ultra high net worth individuals to do this part of your product. But that's not a POC, that's just solving the problem. And once this works, you can then think, can we do more value for UBS Switzerland within asset management? Or can we do the same use case we had for every single country subsidiary of UBS? Or can we just go deeper on what we do? But it's more of a landing point than proving that you can do something. Thanks so much for hosting, and also from my side, thanks for the great dialogue. Always fun discussing POCs or how to eliminate them.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Ciao.